Hi, and welcome to another installment of Math Basics Mr. Besh. Today we're going to look at the cone, and I'm going to teach you how to calculate both its surface area and its volume. At first glance, a lot of people don't recognize this, but a cone basically is 1/3 of a cylinder. You think of the cone itself, it has three very important measures: the radius of the circular top, the height, which is the distance from peak straight to the center of the circle perpendicular, and the slant height. Each of these values is used when calculating your surface area and your volume. Your height you use for your volume, whereas your slant height you use for your surface area. As you can take a look at my diagram, the diameter of my cone is 24 feet. That means that the radius, the number we're going to be using, is half of that, which is 12. The formulas for the volume of a cone and the surface area of the cone are as follows. To find the volume of a cone, you take pi, multiply it by the radius, then times the radius again, and then times the height. When you get this answer, you can either multiply by 1/3 or simply divide by 3. It's your choice. I usually choose to divide by 3. It's a little bit easier for me. The surface area of a cone is found by taking pi times the radius, and then taking pi times the radius times L, which is the slant height, and adding these two values together. Now, my picture and diagram again, my cone. First thing I want to do is I want to calculate this cone's volume. So I'm going to be using 12 feet as my radius, and I'm going to be using the 9 feet as my height. I plug them into my formula. Pi times the radius, which is pi times 12 times 12, times 9, which is the height, gives me 4,069.44. I then choose to divide by 3, and when I divide by 3, I get 1,356.48 feet cubed. This is how I find the volume of a cone. Back to my picture again. What I'm going to be doing now is I'm going to calculate the surface area of my cone. I calculate the surface area of my cone by using the radius again, which is 12 feet, but this time I need to use my slant height, which is 15. Plugging this into my formula, the first part, I take pi r squared, which is pi times the radius, 12 times 12. That gives me 452.16. I then need to take pi times the radius times the slant height, which is pi times 12 times 15, and that gives me 565.2. Last but not least, I need to take these two values and add them together. My grand total is 1,017.36 feet squared, and this is how I find the surface area of a cone. Now, an important note: some of the problems that you're going to be asked to do, you may not have all the information at first. For instance, if I'm asking you to find the volume of this cone here in the diagram, you need to know the height and the radius. But you don't know the height. It's missing. All I give you is the slant height and the diameter. So to find the height of this cone, what you have to do is you have to use the Pythagorean theorem. The little example I gave you here shows what the triangle would look like. The height of the triangle basically is the height of the cone. The hypotenuse of the triangle is the slant height of the cone. And the base of the triangle represents the radius, which is half the distance of the diameter. I even color-coded it to match the illustration. And when I apply the Pythagorean theorem, a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Once again, I get my value, which was 9, which is the same example I used for finding the surface area and the volume of our previous cone. If you have any difficulties with the Pythagorean theorem, please look up our other video on the Pythagorean theorem and itself. I hope you found this both helpful and informative.